So this is a shoot we did the other week that we're going to look at today, that we did with Hannah Snowdon, aka Hannah Pixie Snow on Instagram, and it was for a clothing line that she does. So we did a little bit of a shoot for that and a little few shots afterwards just for her portfolio, for my portfolio, and they came out really well. So this is how we edited them. So this is a shot in Lightroom. I don't really like the compositions. It's a little bit over to one side, so that's what we're going to try and fix in Photoshop. So we'll open this in Photoshop. Once this opens in Photoshop, we're just going to use the new Generative Expand. Quite a good tool to use and fairly straightforward with this kind of backdrop. If there's a lot of detail in the backdrop, it can be a little more tricky. It can take time. The details aren't always so great. So because we're going to use it for a bit of an Instagram crop, we're just going to try and follow the rule of thirds a bit and make this quite a decent size crop. So I'm just bringing it in a little bit because I want our eyes to be on that line, just about there. Hit generate. We can leave this blank because there's nothing extra we want to put in there, so we can leave that blank. And then Photoshop's going to do its thing. Like I said, this shouldn't be too long because it's a fairly straightforward backdrop. It's just plain paper with the light on it. It's rippling a little bit just due to the sort of texture of the paper, so hopefully it kind of does save that. There may be some vignetting around the corners, which it does tend to do sometimes, but then it gives us a few different options. So here's the 3 is found, or it's generated. Quite like the first one, straight out of the bag. I quite like that one. Number 2 looks okay. It's a little bit more texture on it, but a few darker circles around this side, but I do quite like that because it's a little bit of a moody shot with the lighting. And then the 3rd one, just as nice really. So they're all very similar, but I think we'll go with the middle one because there's a little bit more texture on it. We may do something with this side here to clean it up afterwards and see if we can do anything with that. So first thing we're going to do, there's not that much retouching to do in regards to the actual picture and the skin itself. So the way this was lit, it's just one big 7-foot umbrella from the top, so a little bit like that one behind me, same way that is lit. So all of the lighting is kind of coming down straight above it, hence why we get these shadows under the neck and really kind of overexposed or sort of blown out a touch on her arms. Because she's got so many tattoos on her arms, I want to try and preserve that as best I can. So we'll just merge down the generative fill because obviously we're trying to colour something in that's not there. So we'll just merge that into one layer. Grab our dodge and burn tool and we'll choose burn because we want to darken. Dodge lightens and burn darkens. Then get your brush and just be very careful with how kind of close you get to the edge. So we're just going to paint over just her arms and you'll start to see some of the detail just kind of coming back a little bit around her arms and in the tattoos, and just getting a bit more of where we kind of want to go and what kind of lighting we want. We'll do a little bit more here as well. Like I say, try and get a little bit to the edge as you can, but you do sometimes get a little bit of sort of feathering almost from the burn where it kind of bleeds out of the radius of the circle. It's not too much of a problem because we're not going to zoom into this too far. We're going to kind of be almost like a 3/4 body shot. We'll just do the same on the other arm. Just pulling back some of that detail from the arm. So when we zoom back out, there's just a lot more of that detail from her tattoos in there. You can kind of see the hair in between the things as well. I like that. I like the bits of hair that are loose. I don't want to clean anything of that up, but what I do want to do is just brighten just around her neck a touch, just because it's underneath from the light's going above. So this is just really big broad brush and we'll just brighten that up a little bit because you don't want to lose that detail, and especially when you've got detail and tattoos as good as this, you don't really want to lose out on any of them. So a little bit of a before, and then that's kind of the stuff that we've brightened up. The next thing we're going to do is something I like to do with most of my portraits anyway. I don't like to do too much retouching on the face. If it's like a permanent mark on your skin, I like to keep it. If it's like a spot or something like that, we'll get rid, or we'll clean it if that's what the person wants us to do. But here, I just like to brighten the eyes a touch. So just bring out those eyes a bit more by using the dodge tool, just to expose the eyeballs a little bit better. And just bring out that, just so they kind of pop in the picture a little bit. So there's how we have the shot. It looks pretty good. I do quite like it. There is a faint line here where Generative Expand has kind of matched everything, but it's not quite done a good as job as what we wanted to. It's barely noticeable, but I've noticed it, so therefore I need to get rid of it. What we can do with this is something quite simple. Let's just use the patch tool and we just draw a little box around where we think that line is, and then just sort of move it over to the side, and that just sort of blends everything in, gets rid of that line. I quite like the vignetting. I quite like the sort of darkness around the shot. It's a very simple shot anyway, and we don't want to do too much to it. There's no need to kind of overplay any of these edits or do too much to these edits, because we're going to do a little bit in Lightroom afterwards with some of the presets that we like to use, so we'll keep it as it is. So we're going to save this shot. Once that's saved, we're going to go back into Lightroom, where Lightroom will then import that photo from Photoshop, and then we're just going to use the preset that we like to put on, the Portrait Studio one. Just bring down the intensity of that a touch, because I don't want to lose too much of the sort of blackness of it. And then we may just mess around a little bit with the temperature as well, because I think it was around 6,500 Kelvin, so we just want to bring that down a touch. Try not to hover over any other of the presets and accidentally put them on. And that's it. Fairly straightforward, fairly nice shot, fairly simple, pretty much one light with a white backdrop. And that's it.